And we should be live.
Awesome.
Hey,
Hi.
thanks for joining me, Rebecca. Appreciate you being here today. We got a few people. We got Rachel in the chat. Thanks for joining us, Rachel.
Ah. Hi, Rachel. Good morning. Wherever you are, if it's morning.
Yeah, I think Rachel's over in Australia, I believe.
Good evening.
Yeah. Yeah, so this will be another kind of episode in this new series that I started up, which is just to basically showcase up and coming channels. That are getting started and get people that I really resonate with the messages that are being shared and just help spread the word a little bit. Um, so Rebecca she just recently started her YouTube channel Vibe Mentor, which has been phenomenal at, I guess my best take is you help people to kind of uncover the blocks that they put forward in their lives to get from where they want to go. But you also have such a beautiful um, sort of faith-based approach to it as well, which I really enjoy. So that's my take on it, and I'll kind of let you take it away as far as describing what your idea with the channel is and what you want to do with it.
Sure. Sure. Well, it's interesting because I actually formally started and opened the channel many years ago. I have a passion for kids, and through my life and all of the lessons that I've learned, there's been so many moments where I've said to myself, why didn't they teach me that in school? And so there's an underlying current of what we should be learning as children. Um, my initial target was public schools, and of course, everyone knows they're not open to this message right now. So that really held me back for many years. And finally, I think it started with the juice fasting. It just came to me that this has to get out there now. And so it really is for everyone, for all ages. And we'll start with the adults and the people who resonate and are open to it, and trust that that will trickle down to the children in time. So it's,
Amazing.
yeah. And the faith-based piece, I mean, it's been nice to connect with you, Justin, because I think we have similar backgrounds in growing up in organized religion and the church. And for me at least, and I'd be curious to hear your story, but having gone away from that and gone through the tough challenges that life puts you through to kind of bring you back to God and the truth, and how that's very different than the church and dogma and organized religion. And so it's pretty fun to step away and kind of explore the metaphysical world, and then realize how they all kind of come back to God at the end of the day. It really is God and love. And it's been an interesting and fun journey. So it's nice to meet someone else on the path. So I'd love to hear about your story. I don't know if everyone knows your story as well.
Yeah, well, just to give a quick summary of me. So I believe you as well. You grew up as a priest's daughter, right?
Pastor, yeah.
Yeah, pastor's daughter, and yeah. So my father's a minister, and so yeah, it was that sort of interesting approach of dealing with the church and in a sort of traditional format. No negative instances from it in any regard, but it was just kind of this, the very structured organization of like this is how the Bible's taught, and this is God's this far away mystical character that you have to worship, and you might get close to, and he might listen to you, but you have to do everything this certain way, um and so just as I grew up with that, it never really resonated that much. I always tried to make it work. I always tried to force myself into that kind of mold, but it never really felt like the right way. So eventually, I sort of fell away from the church. I looked more into the Catholic Church and the history behind it, and was just appalled by the just disgusting behavior that they had participated in. So I sort of associated God with the church and had them as this kind of like synonymous entity. So I sort of stepped away from God for a little bit as well, and spent a number of years as sort of an agnostic kind of. I don't know what's out there. I don't know why we're here. I looked more into like scientism and the evolution and all that kind of stuff as more fruitful. And um, but then it was, I don't know, it was in my later 20s where I started to come back to this realization that I didn't have an issue with the church at all. It wasn't I didn't have an issue with God at all. I just had an issue with the church, and they were not the same at all. In fact, they're the antithesis of each other. Whereas the church is teaching, fundamentally, is teaching us how to the wrong approach of how we communicate and how we connect with God, and God just wants to be our best friend. God just wants to support us in every single way. God is this one infinite consciousness that we're all connected to that only wants us to reach our space of highest potential to make us be as abundant as possible and to help us in any way we possibly can. But we do have to surrender to that. We have to let God in order to do that. And that's this whole conversation of getting out of our left brain and getting into our right brain and letting stopping our ego from taking the reins and truly letting God be in control. And so that's this it was this powerful sort of realization to come back to that, because it once I realized that, you know, God never left me throughout the whole time that I stepped away. He was always there. He was always supporting me, um, and so it just got back to this beautiful space where God's now my best friend, and I get to always have that support with me. And as long as I trust and wear that armor of God. And so yeah, it's been a beautiful experience for sure. And that's kind of it in a nutshell as far as how I came about.
Well, thank you for sharing. I've never heard you share it before, so I really find it fascinating that even when you dig into scientism or whatever aspects we start to explore, even being agnostic, that he is still in that and there are still lessons in that. And for me, the experience was very guilt laden and a lot of shame. And you should always feel bad about these thoughts that you have, or if you explore something or you go outside of the way it was supposed to be, then you need to prostrate yourself. And just this whiplash of guilt, shame, and fear all the time. And it's like you said, the antithesis of what God designed this experience to be. And there is so much beauty in it. I think that's where I get really excited, is when you come back around and you can finally let go of all of those things. The freedom and the expansion and the lightness is just so beautiful. And the awe is what he really intended us to focus on. So
Yeah, and even just looking at guilt and shame, you know, if you look at them from a frequency-based perspective, they are the absolute lowest form of frequency as far as our emotions go. So it only makes sense that this satanic church would create this idea that you have to be guilty or shameful in order to keep us rooted into that lower bands of frequency of emotions. And it's, you know, it's pretty diabolical when you look at it from that perspective, and in the sense that God would never want us to stay in that state. That's man that wants to keep us in a state of control and keep us in that state of fear and keep us away from ever unlocking our true potential. But that's for us to, they are a worthy adversary that we kind of asked to play that role so that we could move past it. And that's why it's so wonderful reading, like, you know, when we decoded the book of Matthew and then the book of Revelation, how they both outlined this adversary quite thoroughly and quite in detail, and how we do have to step outside of it. We do even have to step outside of our own family oftentimes, because they're often the ones that unknowingly are the ones that are holding us back from reaching that maximum potential. So that's why in the book of Matthew it describes you're going to have to leave your family. You're going to have to leave your parents or your brothers and sisters, because um, if they are the ones that are taking that stance of like, you can't activate yourself, you can't grow past this point, well, that's where God says you got to leave. And it's not out of anything but love, but it's just this process that we all have to go through. Everything that we experience in life is all designed to give us the perfect avenue to grow in. It's this little course that's been set up ahead of time so that we can navigate in it, and every single step of the way is just another lesson for us to learn from and expand on and grow in. Like, we already know the destination. We already know that we're going to get back to that beautiful space of just bliss and abundance, and in essence we're already there, but the journey to go along the way, that's the beautiful part of the experience, that we get to sort of grow and learn as we go along. So yeah, it's all amazing.
It's the beauty of duality, right? It's no matter how deep or far away you get, it's there's an inevitable catapult that will happen, whether it's in this lifetime or another. You'll eventually get back to where you're supposed to be, and even the darkness is serving its purpose, and it is so ingenious. And looking at the church is pretty amazing. I'm not sure they realized what they designed when they did it, but you'll either live in fear, guilt, and shame, or you'll end up hating God. And so from their perspective, it looks like you win, but ultimately at the end of the day, thank God for our compass, our soul that just will not stop. And I don't know about you, but I've had that dark night of the soul where it's a pining that will never end until we get to where we're supposed to be. And so that's
Yeah,
why we get to rest in faith and trust, because it's impossible to fail. You'll eventually be where you're supposed to be. So
yeah, yeah. We'll eventually hit that catastrophe, that rock bottom, and we'll say, you know what? I'm tired of this game. I'm tired of sinking. I'm tired of descending, and I'd rather go the other direction. And um, but everything's designed to get us to that point so that we can reach that dip and say, okay, no more, and
yeah,
come back. And we can have multiple of them. We can have multiple catastrophes and go through that experience several times, as many as we need to. But it's all designed to, yeah, get us to go through this grand experience.
yeah. Yeah, I remember asking my father as a child and just saying, I don't understand why we have to tell people when they're wrong, or why we have to have all these rules, because we have a conscience. I must not have been more than 5 years old when I said this to him. We know in our heart and soul what's right and wrong. And there is that voice that will always be there. And so there's never a lack of guidance. And even in my explorations through the metaphysical world, I would go to a psychic or, a tarot card reader, and oddly enough, the message in well, probably the last 7 years has always been, I can't give you the answers, you have them within yourself. And so it's always a return back to, the God in the heaven within, where the guidance is truly going to come from. And that's why on my channel I talk so much about core beliefs and basic core needs, because those are the foundation of our soul, and what voice is rising to us to say this is right for you or this is not right for you, and to help guide you in the right direction. So it's impossible to fail.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, on that note of your channel, do you s- are you geared more towards just putting out content, or are you opening yourself up for people to reach out to you as well as they kind of navigate that path? Like, I'm just curious from that perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, content is the starting focus, simply because that's what I have today. But I have studied under the Robin Madanis organization, which is a life coaching program. So I certainly am open to coaching. I think we are all built to serve in some way. And for me, this is my purpose, if you will. And that's I find a guy at the gas station who forgot his wallet and give him $5, and that just makes my whole day. And friends will turn to me and go, why did you do that? He was probably scamming you. And I just don't care. That was my opportunity to give. And so absolutely, to be of service is definitely one of my highest goals through all of this, and whatever else comes of it. I've had an innate inner wisdom, if you will, if that's the right term, just around food. My first job was at McDonald's at 14. I was so excited, and that was kind of that first moment of like, holy cow, that feels terrible.
Mm.
So that inner wisdom of nutrition and what was right for at least my body. So there'll probably be elements of nutrition. Obviously, the juice fasting and the fruit is very important to reaching our highest potential and raising our vibration. And then I enjoy yoga as well. So there'll be different elements of whatever I'm inspired. It's definitely an intuitive exploration. So whatever
Nice.
comes.
That's awesome. Yeah, and as far as juice fasting go, I believe you're on another juice fast yourself, right?
Yes, yes.
How's that
Day eight
going?
was a bit of a hiccup, but
Yeah.
back on track. Yeah,
Nice.
it's they ran out of oranges, so I was a
Oh,
little thrown off track yesterday, but I have two giant watermelons waiting for me after this. So yeah,
beautiful.
there's just nothing like it. It's amazing. It's the clarity and the peace and the calmness and the joy and yeah, just raising the chrism oil, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and just kind of the ease of getting into the swing of things with juice because you realize how much of our day is spent around just like planning what we're gonna eat and planning meals. I mean, I'm sure you've still got to feed your family and things like that, so that's a little bit different. But it is something that is so simple when we do get simple with what we're consuming, and we can kind of examine how complicated our lives are around food and how it doesn't have to be. It really doesn't. The fruit is very simple and it's supposed to be that way.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we have tanks for everything. So we have a tank of decision making, we have a tank of willpower, we have a tank of, you know, doing the right thing. And if we have to make so many decisions in a day, we're going to get to a point where by the end of the day, we're making negative decisions or poor decisions around food. And so juicing makes that easy. And fruit kind of simplifies the rules, clarifies the boundaries. So
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
Yeah. Well, cool. So I guess do you have any sneak peeks on where you're taking your channel next? Like what sort of videos you're coming out, or do you kind of play it by ear? Is it just as the flow comes, you speak?
Yeah, it's very much intuitive driven right now. Couple ideas, you know, I think worthiness has come up a bit. I'll be releasing a video on addiction later today. So there's always more to be said, but in different ways. So it's interesting how you can create a video and in that there's a message for the next one. And so I spend a lot of time meditating before deciding on what that's going to be. And I make sure that I'm not taking in external input. You know, I'm not out there searching necessarily. I will look for Bible verses or evidence that supports whatever's coming because I know that there'll be something there. But usually it's just driven by what the guidance is for the day. I really want to make sure that I'm, you know, being a channel to bring through whatever God needs to be said that day. So,
Yeah, that's the best way to be. And when we can just stay in that state of divine flow, then that's the taking the load off because then we don't have to worry about what comes next or how it's going to play out. It's literally, it's just you wake up every day and say, God, let 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 like guide these feet where you need them to go, guide these hands with what you need them to do, guide these lips with what you need them to say, and um, it truly is just a beautiful state to be in. So that's awesome. I'm glad.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would certainly love to hear from people too. You know, what are they struggling with? You know, there comes a point where um, the community should direct the content and to be able to be of service includes their voice and knowing what people need is definitely key to being of service. So if anybody has any requests or things they struggle with, I'm very, very open to hearing what that is.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, so if y'all have anything to say, make sure you comment on her videos. And did you have like an email or something that you wanted to post to people?
Yeah, yeah, people can reach out to me, Rebecca at vibementor.com. I do also have a couple of tools that can help people explore sort of who they are, what they need, and how they can start to put together a plan for a purpose-driven life. So I'm currently offering those tools for free. So if anybody reaches out, we can pass along the codes to access that.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the amazing thing about this creation and how it's set up is it is so and we're not really taught this, but it is so service oriented. When we do step into that space of service, everything just reciprocates like magnitudes fold. And that's it makes perfect sense because all all the creator, all God wants to do is to create and expand and grow. So of course it's going to have this built-in mechanic to where if you're of service, if you know, like by serving the creator, by serving you, I serve the creator. By serving the creation, I serve the creator. And so of course it's only going to be set up in that way to where when we step into that space of service, it is going to reciprocate and reward us because it's just going to create that magnitude higher of service orientation and creation and expansion. So
It's the
yeah.
best way I found to get out of your own way. If you're thinking about yourself and you're worried about yourself, you're going to be in the way. But if you're thinking about others and looking about for ways to serve and to help them and to bring the community together and to create synergy and to contribute to the greater whole, that's when all of your energy is focused on positive things, so that you're not in your own way in your head, getting away in the way of what God is trying to bring into your life. So it's probably worth noting that the term vibe actually came from, it's an acronym for value and intention based education.
Mm,
And it speaks to exactly what you're saying, is that we all have value. Everybody is designed with intention. Literally, it's a 1 in 400 billion chance that that sperm would meet the egg and that you would be here in this current form. That's incredible. And it kind of goes to, all the other lies that make us feel like we're an accident or, a happenstance. It's a lie. It's not true. That you are needed, and you in your highest possible potential is extremely valuable. You are a child of God, more important than any other being on this planet. And God needs you to be abundant and to be vibrating at your highest potential so that you can be of service in the way that you're intended to be. And I love it because I get God bumps when this is what really turns me on, is because we're literally like a puzzle. Our strengths are where we're supposed to focus, and that's what we're supposed to give to people. And then our weaknesses are not a negative or a downfall. They're the opportunity for someone else to come in. That's the hole in your puzzle piece where somebody else comes in to fit. And when we all can synergize and come together, the potential is limitless. This is when we create new earth and we vibrate all the negativity right away. So, knowing what your value is, and that starts with understanding your core needs and changing those core beliefs to make sure that they're all positive, and then setting intentions for your future. How are you going to contribute to the greater whole?
mm,
And so we need to start to educate ourselves. If it has to be at the adult level first, but hopefully it'll get all the way down to the kids. But can you imagine if you started studying at 2 and 3 what your value is, and programming the right programs into your brain? It's gorgeous. It's unbelievably beautiful. There are no words to explain how phenomenal this earth could be if we were all living in our potential and contributing to others. It's just so amazing. So
yeah, it truly is. Well, and it makes sense why they've why they've worked so hard to attack us as young as possible, because the children do have the greatest creative potential because they're the closest to the creator. You know,
yeah.
they're the closest to ones to entering into this realm. And so yeah, if we can unlock that potential and teach people, you know, how to step into their full selves and celebrate their differences, you know, like it is this kind of interesting paradigm, um, that we are all one in the sense that we are all part of the same, but we have such a unique difference. Like we have, like we're all miracles. We're all this absolute, just uh, yeah, just this specific. There's no other piece that's like us, and when we can celebrate that and truly see that, you know, I am different, and that's beautiful, and that's something to be celebrated and stepped into, then we can all celebrate each of our unique differences and continue to unlock them, because it is like a puzzle. You know, it's like this game that we have to figure out. We kind of chose to have a difficulty of forgetting and not knowing, not being able to see fully, not having that high vantage point. And then we get to navigate this game to try and figure out, like, okay, what is my unique gift and how can I unlock it? And the
Mhm.
more steps that we step into that, the greater that expansion comes and the more that we can unlock, and it just keeps going and going from there. So
Yeah.
beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Yeah. I like what you say, celebrating the differences, because if you think about a puzzle, no other piece can fill that hole. no other piece, and only you are valuable, and it's incredible that the puzzle cannot be complete without you. So that's where we need people to really start stepping into their power and shining their light, and it's, yeah, it's going to be good. I have no faith, or no fear, only faith that we're headed there, and it feels closer and closer every day. So it's,
Yeah.
especially with the communities that are coming together now, and it's just exciting for everyone to start to connect, and it becomes more and more evident every day.
Yeah. Beautiful. Cool. Well, was there any other particular aspect you wanted to get into? Any other topic you wanted to cover about your channel or anything like that?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, I'm not really planning ahead, so I don't have a syllabus to share, although I will say that there are, 10 to 12 core lessons that I feel that should be included in education. And so those will become part of the videos and the content. And if anybody, especially parents, have any questions about my thoughts, I won't claim to be an authority, but just a sounding board to bounce things off of as far as what we should be teaching our kids. I absolutely welcome those conversations.
Beautiful. Yeah. And what was your email one more time, just for people listening?
Rebecca@vibementor.com.
Awesome. Yeah. And so you can see that. I'll add that to the show notes, and you can see Rebecca's channel linked in the show notes as well. So y'all make sure to go give that a subscribe and reach out if you got any questions or suggestions on things that she can share. But Rebecca, I just wanted to thank you for your service, and thank you for stepping into this and recognizing that you do have a gift with sharing this kind of information, and it is truly seen. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for being here. It's been an honor, truly.
Mhm. Thank you, Justin. I very much appreciate it. So it's so
Yeah,
good to connect with you and see you in person.
yeah, absolutely. Well, in person in these little
Right.
boxes.
It will get closer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right,
Awesome.
sister. Well, I love you dearly, and yeah,
Yeah.
we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Much love, friend.
Bye, everyone.